There we go, we're set up. Recast Orb Storms again. Drop down Lance, hit our buff, and we got 7 charges, and we one-shot Zesht. That's how it goes. So if there's one way I could describe what this build feels like, I'd say it's this.
Police girl, if you may.
Bitches love cannons.
Howdy my dudes, Random Fight Fan here. We got the Ranger completely online, made the full swap from Amazon to Deadeye Ranger, and I can say that it was absolutely worth it. Right now the clearing is much better than it was with the Amazon, considering the Tangle Tongue is still getting us absolutely crit capped without any effort, as you can tell right here, 100% crit chance. Yes, we needed to get some investment into some jewels, but we are staying away from certain crit chance nodes that we could be going even harder into crit damage if we wanted to. We could be coming up into Careful Assassin. We don't need to do these things because we are able to get crit cap, and all this, I'm only level 90, and I'm able to one-shot tier 4 Zesht consistently, as long as I don't make a silly mistake. But to go into it, I still have this crazy spear. Crit damage on there isn't needed. It's actually better to have the lightning rune on there. When I bought this, the guy already had crit damage on it, and yeah, I took this into path building. The mathematics on it say that putting lightning damage 1 to 30 rune on it is actually more damage. I just haven't made the swap yet. My gloves are still the same. These could be improved upon in a lot of different ways, but these are working for me right now. I need the resistances, and everybody knows right now that attributes are kind of difficult to max, and this having 21 int is very helpful. I'm enjoying the ingenuity belt to give me a little bit more benefit out of my rings. This ring is actually a downgrade because a friend is letting me use his Sacred Flame to do testing. So now on this build here, I'm going to show you what we will be doing with and without Sacred Flame. So first, because I have it on, I'm going to show you with. But to continue on, we got the same boots as before, like I said, the same rings. I absolutely love this Hari's Iron chest, and we're rocking Beacon of Aziz so that any elemental damage on here is equally amazing damage, and the same incredibly good helmet. So the strengths of this build, it can one-shot pretty much any boss. It's one-shotting tier 4 Zesht, it's clearing maps in a heartbeat, it's got absolutely no problems with anything, thanks to Hari's Ire and the way that Tailwind works. If you get it stacked up to 10 here, I'm just going to show you pretty quick. It's right now got 88% evade chance. With Thunder Sleep, if you want to use that, you can bring it to 91, and if you're stacking on Blind on top of it, with Blind Effect, it's about a 93% evade chance against all attacks. It's ridiculously strong, absolutely ridiculously strong. It takes into all of these nice, lovely little evasion nodes up here. I have this jewel, which is the newest piece of gear that I have, that gives me 3% increased evasion for each small notable, and I'm hitting a whole bunch of these small notables here, including all these frenzy charge ones, and it also gives me a whole bunch of crit damage. Poison is not necessary, but the large radius in this area is. If it's not large, well, it might hit all the notables. If it's medium, I haven't checked that, but you wouldn't get all of these small notables to get the evasion rating. You can get a better time loss jewel than this, but this here is still incredible. As you can tell, I have quite drastically updated the tree, and I like this quite a bit. I know I'm spending quite a few points to come down here for Tainted Strike, but it also gives me access to another jewel slot, and coming up here to Careful Assassin, which loses a little bit of damage because that reduced crit damage, and then coming up here for this jewel socket is just a lot of points spent. And I did not go into Spectral Ward specifically because I wanted to be a little bit closer to these crit nodes here, and while it does give a little bit more energy shield than what I will be doing by coming through here, it gives less utility. So in this instance, I get better attributes, I get better movement speed, I get better attack speed, and then I stay close to these Essence of the Storm, Essence of the Mountain, which I plan to get later on as well. All this is very, very, very powerful. How it works here is with mapping, you just go around tossing Lightning Spear like crazy. I have Thunderous Leap in there, but it can very easily just 1-for-1 be replaced by Roa, and you feel no difference. It's actually fairly good. But you see all this in place. There's a few things that are a little bit off that you probably wouldn't think about. First of all is the Mana Flask. It's actually really important to get increased charges on the Mana Flask. It can roll up to 70% increased charges. I have a pretty good one at 65. And the reason for that is because a big part of our damage is Ambrosia on Wind Serpent. You see how it says 20% of your maximum Mana Flask charges on use and 3% of damage is extra lightning per Mana Flask consumed? I have 123 charges there, and it's 3% per. I get something like 73% more damage from this. Every time I cast Wind Serpent, it's about 73% more damage. It takes advantage of Pursuit, working with Stormlance, and then tossing Wind Serpent afterwards. Conk effect is just damage, and Excoriate. Not many people are thinking about Excoriate, but it is a wonderful, wonderful support gem. It does 30% more melee damage for me because I am effortlessly able to get shocks off because of the lightning damage on the weapon, and chills off because of cold damage on my rings, well, ring and chest piece, and fire damage even before Flame Scepter from rings and gloves. It is ridiculously efficient, and it takes advantage of the Beacon of Aziz ignoring monster elemental resistances that monsters just take full damage to all of it. You don't need to focus and want to actually do damage. And finally, the last thing is Overextend because it's amazing. Now, how to put this all together? It's actually pretty simple, pretty easy, and beautiful. And I like to have Inspiration in there because I do something a little bit special as well, and it's on cast on critical. I have Infernal Flame in there. Now, when Infernal Flame is on cast on critical, it doesn't actually auto-cast it. It's still a manual cast, but it saves you an extra slot and actually acts as like a 10th slot without you needing anything. And since we only need Ingenuity with Sniper's Mark, it's perfect. Like, yeah, we could have got a few extra supports out of Infernal Cry, but having Premeditation and Enrage Warcry in there, it's fantastic. And so I'm going to do this in two sections here. I'm going to do it first with the Sacred Flame setup, and next without Sacred Flame with another scepter, specifically just this guy. We're not going to worry about stats or anything, but here we go. So with Sacred Flame on, what we would do is be Innervate, Fork, Volt. Those will stay the same no matter what with Lightning Spear. They are golden. But what we're doing here is we're absolutely dropping Herald of Thunder because it is no longer needed whatsoever. We have this giant gain damages extra that we will convert to cold with Embitter, which makes it incredibly good at generating combat frenzy charges throughout the map yourself. And then it also allows you to run Ice Bite. And because Ice Bite does not have a cost multiplier, this is only 62 mana per, this is actually still quite cheap to run with Innervate and Ice Bite as your damage buffs. For that reason, you don't need Inspiration, but obviously, I was saying before that with Infernal Cry on cast on critical, it does actually consume the mana, but it doesn't cast it. It's a problem with cast on critical. It's also trying to consume the mana of Sniper's Mark when it's not being cast at anything. So if you have a jewel that does gains % of mana back on kill, then fantastic. Or like mana on kill ring, you know, all those things could really come in handy. I don't have it, and it's not really an issue maintaining anything with Lightning Spear going off. I may need to pop a Mana Flask every once in a while, but it is golden. Combat Frenzy is obviously the same. Cast on critical with Sniper's Mark and Ingenuity is wonderful. Then having Infernal Cry with Premeditation and Enraged Warcry are incredible. Enraged Warcry is very important because we use Orb of Storms with Font of Rage, and it gives us more than enough rage for the bosses that actually need it. And so you're going to get a huge damage buff. Now, something about Infernal Cry, I've been told that it can stack up twice if you have the dual casts on it, so you could pop it twice, and it gives you the massive empowered fire damage again, and it may actually stack both of these twice as well. I haven't tested this myself, but if that works, it's ridiculous, because apparently against bosses, it's 20 power, so that is 140% of damage is fire. Oh my. Yeah, that's a lot. But yeah, now back to the items here. Stormlance is no longer a damaging node. It is a heavily useful supporting skill that activates Wind Serpents so well. You put on Scattershot and Primal. Because Primal, you want that over anything else. Primal is essential because it boosts up the little bits of cold and fire damage you get, as well as the lightning. So when you have Commiserate and Overcharge, it gets the really big shocks off. I get 39% shock effect. That's 39% more damage they take. It's huge. And then, thanks to the little bits of fire and cold damage elsewhere on all my gear, it gives off Ignite or Burn, whatever it is, and Chill, which completely activates this Excoriate on Wind Serpent's Fury. It's absolutely wonderful. Then I have Thunderous Leap in here because we have extra gem slots without needing Herald of Thunder in there, and we don't have the extra spirit from the other rare scepter that we would be getting otherwise, because Sacred Flame you can only get 110 with that extra spirit skill slotted in. Thanks to being Purity of Fire, you're able to use the silly spirit cost supports in here without it actually costing spirits, so you don't need to worry about swapping that out. But Thunderous Leap specifically is just for jumping around terrain, getting over ledges, that sort of thing. You could put in Roa if you're willing to turn off, say, Cast on Critical for mapping, and then turn off Roa and turn on Cast on Critical for bossing. I'm trying to do this with literally no gem swaps ever. And then also Thunderous Leap has Aftershocks, and so they're just fun to watch, and they can have multiple Aftershocks, as you can see. It's just fun to see all of them pop off. And then I get Untouchable as well, which meshes very well with how much evasion I have, and it gives me just a ton more evasion, making it very unlikely for you to get hit when moving around maps, even when you're doing something stupid. Trinity, you want it to be at least level 19 to put in the 3 supports to give it 13% more elemental damage with attacks after you put quality in it. Theoretically, if you wanted to, you could quality up Trinities and corrupt them until you get +1 level, and then put a level 20 gem on it, level it up. If you do that, then it'd actually be 14% more elemental damage per attacks, but I don't have another level 20 support gem to do that with, and I haven't been messing around with that yet. But that is a way to get, I guess, 3% more damage out of this skill, or out of this support gem, which, you know, is nothing to scoff at. Wind Dancer, Unbreakable. I have Pin in there and Magnified Effect, just so that way it affects more things. And then Orbistorms, here's kind of where the magic happens. It gives you Font of Rage, which is very powerful, and you put on Persistence there specifically so that it lasts a little bit longer, doesn't pop off for no reason. And then I have Controlled Destruction for a very, very special reason, and that is the Moment of Truth node. We have 100% crit chance, so we're not getting non-critical hits. But because of Orb of Storms, we no longer have 100% crit chance on that. And then with Controlled Destruction, we specifically get cannot deal critical hits, which guarantees us an extra 25% critical damage bonus. This here just became a 30% more damage and 25% increased critical damage for our Wind Serpent's Fury and for our Stormlance. Incredible. Now for the setup, if you did not have Sacred Flame, so you have, in this case, 60 more spirit to work with, essentially, and you absolutely need Herald of Thunder. which means you won't be getting the freezes off with Embitter and Ice Bite from Lightning Spear, so you'd be going Long Shot and Inspiration. You will need Inspiration specifically because it gets to be a little bit pricey, and it brings it down to a really manageable 44 mana cost, and it comes in handy. You're going to enjoy having Inspiration in there. It feels good. And then, yeah, like I said, you'll have Herald of Thunder in there. You'd be dropping off Thunderous Leap, have Herald of Thunder going. And then you have an extra slot, technically, as well.
Nature's fury.
If you wanted more Spirit to put in Ghost Dance, but I specifically do not run Ghost Dance because Hari's Ire is so good. I know I have all this evasion. I got 15,000 evasion right now, and it just stacks up even higher when you have all the Tailwind stacks going. But it actually doesn't feel the best, because most of the time that you get popped, like, it's very unusual and unlikely, so you're not really in a place where it's a problem. But if you do get popped and it's against a boss, you might get one shot, which is a problem. But I had that problem before, but then I realized I didn't even have my final ascendancy, so I got Windward, and I haven't been getting popped like that since. And I've been dying significantly less. There's a few times where, yes, it would have been kind of nice to have Ghost Dance, but it would have felt much worse to take out Orb of Storms to make it happen, and I would not take out Stormlance. It is an option that you could drop Stormlance to put in Ghost Dance if you really, really wanted to, and then use Spear Stab to activate your shocks and give you blind on the target, essentially. But it's not consistent. It's also not as safe either, and it feels kind of bad. Like, yeah, you get the rage in there, and you can make it poke pretty fast. Like, if you go in there, it's actually poking pretty fast, so you think it'd be fine, but it just does not feel good. I did not like Spear Stab at all. It felt so much better for Stormlance, because Spear Stab is one stack, one stack, one stack, one stack of Trinity, whereas Stormlance, you drop it with a Frenzy Charge, and oh look, Trinity is maxed. Like, actually maxed. It is less so when without Sacred Flame, because obviously no fire, but still your lightning would be maxed, and that's instant 20%, 26% more damage. Here, 39%. Still feels really, really good to have Stormlance in there, and this will also guarantee getting off the shock every time with the Overcharge and Commiserate. You don't need to worry about, oh, do I have enough lightning damage on Spear Stab? You just do with Stormlance. Now, Herald of Thunder, obviously you're going to have your Ice Bite, Glaciation, Cold Infusion, and Bitter. That is how you're going to get off the freezes and give you the very, very nice Ice Bite throughout the maps, which will help with clear so much, even though you don't really need help with clear. Trinity is the same with the 3 levels. If I would suggest listening to the previous section as well about getting higher levels everything. Again, Wind Dancer's the same, and Orb of Storms is the same, and again we still have Controlled Destruction there, so we get the absolute most out of Moment of Truth and the most out of your skills in total. With these setups, with the Shrine Scepter, I was able to get 20 million Wind Serpent's Fury hits off, and I was still fine-tuning and tweaking things around. I probably could get it a little bit higher, and it wouldn't be too difficult, because I have since improved a little bit. The rotation I'm going to tell you about is the best way to do it. But when I had in my buddy's Sacred Flame with basically this setup, because I never really used Thunderous Leap, I was getting, as long as I did the setup properly, about 45 million a hit. I know that because when I screwed up, I was still doing 30 million. And that's 30 million because I accidentally stepped out of the Font of Rage. I had the Rage boosted Infernal Cry, and I did all of that right, but then when I hit the boss, I had no Rage, and I still did 30 million in one hit. And so 30 million plus another 30% more, probably around 40 million, somewhere in there. 40 million sounds right. And yeah, it is a big, big hit. And so seeing that you can do that with just Shrine Scepter to get over 20 million a hit, you are in a great place. Now, the damage rotation. The damage rotation is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you walk into the arena and you pop your Orb of Storms. You are going to be getting Rage as the boss spawns and does its own little intro thing. And as the boss gets ready, you drop a Lightning Spear, and if you have a Frenzy Charge, amazing. If you don't, dropping that Lightning Spear will proc cast on crit and get you a Frenzy Charge. After you drop it, you're going to Rage Infernal Cry in front of his face, because you should have enough Rage at that point, and then drop another and another and another Storm Lance until you get max Frenzy Charges. It should take you no time at all. For things like Zesht and most map bosses, it will literally be the first Storm Lance, because you already have the Frenzy Charges. You just drop it, and then cast on critical will pop Sniper's Mark. It will consume it, give you another one, and if somehow that wasn't enough, you having Ingenuity on Sniper's Mark will proc it again, and then give you another one by the time you walk up and smack him with Wind Serpent's Fury and one-shot him in that second and a half of the first bit of the fight. Like, literally, if you do the damage rotation right every time, it will be a second and a half. You have your Orb of Storms just sitting there giving you Rage. When the boss is about ready, you recast it so it doesn't time out too fast. You drop Stormlance, you Infernal Cry, and then if you have full Frenzy Charges on a Pinnacle boss or not so full on another one, you just keep dropping Stormlance until you get it, and then you pop Wind Serpent's Fury. That's it. And it works extremely, extremely well. Now, I hope that is everything that I need to explain. I went over all the gear, I went over the mana potion, I went over the skills, both with and without Sacred Flame, the damage rotation. Yeah, that is everything. I hope this can really help elevate your guys' game. This here is ridiculously strong. When you're going through, you really don't need to swap through the passive tree too much. You can kind of path through this directly and go nuts. Going forward, one thing I would love to get is a From Nothing Dance with Death, specifically because most of these nodes, especially Focus Thrust, are kind of useless. It's just Precise Point, Roll and Strike, and then Acceleration that are great. And if you can get a From Nothing Dance with Death, you can save these 8 points and use them elsewhere wherever you need. It is incredibly, incredibly powerful, and it's on the radar, but it's definitely something that is a stretch goal because it is such a high investment item right now. It's way too overpriced. Going forward, obviously we have all this in here. I would love to come up and path towards Throat Seeker. Getting Throat Seeker means 20% reduced critical hits, which means, very simply, we're just going to need to get 20% increased crit chance, which is so simple. We move this crit damage note over here, and we pick up this one. And that is max crit chance for me with my gear. With your gear, you're probably going to need a little more investment. If you don't have a crazy high critical hit chance Tangle Tongue, you can make this work pretty well with a 19% crit chance, or even like an 18 something, or maybe not even just being so anal about getting that exact 100%, because honestly, according to Path of Building, me fighting to make that exactly 100% is actually losing me damage. And if I were to stick and get this critical damage node instead of this crit chance one, and like come up here with Throat Seeker and then just not worry about capping it off anywhere else, it is more damage than if I were to cap off the crit. I am very surprised by that, but yeah, not having the exact 100% crit damage is not needed. It just looks pretty on the sheet, and that's why I go for it. Now, when you're leveling up and you're going through the campaign and everything, and you're wanting to know what to do, you first Ascendancy, so you get Tailwind, so that way you can run through everything, make you a little bit faster, attack a little faster, it feels really good. Then you come up here for Avidity, when you're basically starting Cruel Act 1 or Act 3. you will finally start to get some frenzy charges, and then this will help you gain a lot more frenzy charges. That feels really good. And then you get thrilling chase, and then your damage explodes. And then Wind Ward afterwards. Don't forget to get this because you're cruising through everything. It is actually monster survivability. And finally, what I did for leveling Ranger from 1 to basically forever is start with Whirling Slash and Tornadoes. I'm going to show that up screen of how fancy and beautiful it can get. It absolutely tears through things in the campaign. For everything going from pack to pack to use Lightning Spear, but then in the bosses is Whirling Slash and Twisters, and it can one-shot basically every boss. It is incredibly powerful. With that said, though, it falls off completely, and that is why we are going Wind Serpent's Fury. If we could have kept it going with Tornadoes, I would have, but unfortunately, it just wasn't as powerful as I wanted it to be, despite having like 198 Twisters. Now, that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and sub if you did, and if you didn't, don't. Regardless, I enjoyed putting this together. This has been a really special build. It's absolutely fantastic. I will probably be running this with Roa now that I'm going to have to give back the Sacred Flame and grab the Shrine Scepter, but it's still absolutely wonderful. Either way, I can't wait to see how far this goes. I need to farm myself a Sacred Flame, but see you, my dudes. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. How do you make Trinity work with the extra fire damage and Sacred Flame? I will show you right now. I have very good balanced fire and cold here, or fire and lightning, so that the lightning damage is like right around the mid-range of fire. So Wind Serpent stacks up both of them, but the thing that stacks it up the fastest is my Stormlance. So when you come to the Frenzy Charged, you can see the fire damage and the lightning damage is very, very even, and that makes it so that you get crazy good and fast Trinity stacking. I have that because I got lightning damage and cold damage kind of all over the place with like a little bit of fire damage. It's just balanced damage that works well with the fire. I had that idea in mind going with my gear, so I needed a balance of all the elements on there, and it just happened to work out really nicely with the rings that I have. Ooh, this is actually really nice. Holy crap.